Welcome to this week's Movie Math, giving you an in-depth analysis of the box office for the weekend of June 1st, as just like in her movie, Snow White brought life back to a barren landscape, this time the box office. Yes, Hollywood cheered on their new queen with headlines proclaiming that the summer 2012 box office slump was over. But wait a minute, isn't this almost the exact same amount of money that Men in Black 3 pulled in last weekend, striking horror into the hearts of studio execs everywhere even though the flick had finally bested the Avengers? Why is one $60 million-ish debut considered a hit while another is considered a flop? Well, on the one hand, Snow White had much lower expectations, as it's not a sequel, not in 3D, and stars women. But the nitty-gritty of it all is that Men in Black 3 cost about $300 million to make, while Snow White and the Huntsman cost about $170. This is similar to what happened with John Carter. If Andrew Stanton had made his movie for around just $100 million, which should have been possible considering his lack of star power, John Carter would have been considered a huge success. What's more, Pixar would have had the beginnings of a shot at live-action domination to rival their animation domination, and Rich Ross would still have his job as head of Walt Disney Studios. By the way, Ross's replacement has just been named, Alan Horn, who co-founded Castle Rock Entertainment and was the head honcho over at Warner Brothers during the studio's Harry Potter days. Also of note, his daughter Cody is the female lead in this summer's Magic Mike. It's good to be a Hollywood princess, off-screen and on. Yes, even Kristen Stewart's parents have strong Hollywood ties, and Snow White's box office performance is sure to cement her status as silver screen royalty. Love her or hate her, this makes her the only member of Twilight's threesome to find success outside of the franchise. Lautner has failed to take off as an action star, while Pattinson's Cosmopolis failed to impress at Cannes. But Charlize Theron's Evil Queen can take heart as well, as she had her fair share of admirers this weekend with not just Snow White and the Huntsman's #1 debut, but also with Prometheus' stellar overseas debut. Discovering $35 million, Prometheus also nabbed the #1 spot in the UK, where it doubled Snow White and the Huntsman's take as both flicks bowed at the same time. And Theron can also boast that she was clearly the draw for Snow White and the Huntsman, as the audience skewed older with 56% over the age of 25 and 52% over the age of 30. An excellent sign for next year's Maleficent. As for the rest of the weekend box office, Men in Black 3 had opened on par with the former films in the franchise and dropped in its second weekend on par with the former films in the franchise. That would be great news if it wasn't a decade later and ticket prices were not only swelled by inflation but 3D. I bet right now Will Smith wishes his next project wasn't an M. Night Shyamalan film, as it's also been a decade since Shyamalan had a hit, and he didn't take a break like Smith. Meanwhile, the Avengers continued to move up the all-time lists, hitting #3 both domestically and worldwide. But with a 45% drop this weekend, this is likely where it will stay. And with that, James Cameron breathes a huge sigh of relief. Elsewhere, the specialty market put the mainstream market to shame, with the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, France's The Untouchables, and especially Moonrise Kingdom posting impressive numbers. With those three films' success, along with the Snow White and the Huntsman positive spin due to a smaller budget, perhaps the hey big spender trend in Hollywood will finally fall out of fashion. Throwing tons of money at a bad script and miscast actors does not work. But unfortunately, it seems Paramount has yet to learn that lesson. As you've most likely heard, G.I. Joe Retaliation has been pushed back to March 2013. Turns out studio execs looked at the film and said, needs more Channing Tatum. Whoever thought that would happen? Well, after The Vow and 21 Jump Street, it's not only happening, but happening frequently. With G.I. Joe 2, the rumor is that execs felt maybe killing off one of the hottest actors in Hollywood 5 minutes into the movie was a bad idea, especially when test screening audiences liked his chemistry with The Rock. So while the official word is that Paramount simply wants to render the film in 3D, expect a more Channing Tatum-centric movie and ad campaign to debut next year. As for this coming weekend, Prometheus is expected to also open around $60 million, while Madagascar 3 looks to open with $42 million. Both flicks are in 3D, so it is on. And that's the weekend box office. I'm Grace Randolph, and we just did some movie math. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope you'll go beyond the trailer for these other top movies.